we were at a point where we needed to turn things around if we were to have a future at Cadder. And although we tried different approaches, including natural church development, nothing had really stuck for the church. And then we had the input around Growing Young, and with the support of the session, a small group came together and got approval to participate in the Growing Young programme. So that started our journey, and a very, I suppose, fruitful for us journey in many ways, because we've grown through that period, through the learning that's been offered through Growing Young, and the hope actually that it gave us, because there was a bit of, I suppose, a lack of hope to some extent, because we didn't quite know how to turn things around, and Growing Young offered us the approach that we needed. And I think, as you know, Shona, as our coach, we've stuck pretty rigidly to the process through Growing Young.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the things that we've talked about, isn't it? How you guys have taken it almost to the letter in terms of what you've done with it. And one of the things that you've focused on is those foundations, isn't it, in terms of what you've done?
I mean, because we had so few young people around the church, I guess we sometimes listen to other churches with the clearly numbers of young people, quite envious of what they could look to do and achieve. Despite lockdown, people were doing great things. We didn't have quite that core, but we then appreciated the acknowledgement that, you know, you can grow young by growing your average age down to 50 from 80. And that gave us, again, a bit of an incentive to just keep going, to get as much as I could.
And when we chatted yesterday, you were talking about these foundations, and I think one of the other folks in our group were talking about the fact that you had bricks and mortar now, you just didn't have just have foundations. And so there's a couple of things that you brought yesterday that have just been so encouraging for you over the last couple of months in terms of what's happened. Do you want to just give us quickly what those couple of things are?
Well, just quickly, through this journey, having taken, I suppose, quite a processed approach, over the last 5 months, Cadder has basically restructured the way we're managing our church life. We've split into mission and resources, and the mission side is the really important part, because that's where the 6 core commitments are embedded alongside the 5 marks of mission. So we've set up a range of new teams over the last few months, and we've got good participation from session and congregation. We've got people who haven't been involved in church teams or church life to that extent involved now, and they're very enthusiastic and keen to take it on. So we've got a new structure passed by the session, supported by the session, that looks really in shape very different to where we were 2 years ago. And I think John's comment yesterday, Shona, was that, you know, one of the members of the session said, "Is this the Reformation?" And John obviously dealt with that very delicately. But it is reform. We have significantly changed the face of the church in terms of how we're going to manage ourselves, manage our resources, and how we're going to focus our efforts going forward. So that's a big change for us.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I mentioned yesterday that had happened at the weekend was an afternoon tea, a Jubilee afternoon tea in Cadder, and it was a very uplifting event in the coffee shop area, with a lot of our older members, including myself, enjoying a very nice afternoon tea. While through in our big hall, there was at least 30 children with parents, grandparents there, enjoying a range of great activities: face painting, bouncy castles, the usual spread of things. But the mums and the grands and the dads were sitting over at the side as well, enjoying a bit of afternoon tea too. It felt a really warm intergenerational afternoon, contributed to by many people around the church. And these are the people who will be taking forward our Growing Young, our revised structure, which has been very definitely born out of Growing Young. We wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't started the Growing Young journey 2 years ago.
It's fabulous. Thanks, Gillian. Real encouragement, I think, for everybody. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Gillian. I think we talk about this as being culture change, and what you've talked about is culture change. And, you know, it's great to hear that, and the impact that Growing Young has had and been part of this. So thank you to you.